חנינה, לך תביא את ספר הדוגמאות שקיבלנו במתנה ממללס האנטיוכי. תנו לי להסביר. היום משתמשים בדברים אחרים. תודה. הנה, תראו. אלה דוגמאות של דמויות מתוך גלגל המזלות.
גלגל מזלות זה לא נוצרי?
יווני, אבל זה איתור מאוד מקובל.
לא יודע, גלגל מזלות בבית כנסת...
לכולם יש גלגל מזלות. יש לי רעיון. אני אשלח את חנינה איתכם לבית הכנסת בטבריה. שם תוכלו לראות במו עיניכם דוגמה מהחיים.
אז כדאי שנצא עכשיו.
Synagogues were built as early as the period preceding the destruction of the Second Temple. It was a revolutionary solution for those who wished to worship their God without going all the way to the temple. The synagogue was usually the only public building in the settlement and served as the center for all community activities. Unlike the early synagogues of the 3rd and 4th centuries, the exterior of 5th and 6th century synagogues was simple and modest, but the interior typically featured floors decorated with elegant mosaics.
תראה את זה שמרציף למאזניים, הוא בכלל לא כמו. בטח צייר את זה נותנים מהאתיופים. כמו אלה שאגב.
מה כתוב כאן?
זה בלי. מי שצייר את זה לא ידע עברית, אז כתבו לו את האותיות, והוא יתיק.
בכל מקרה זה נפלא. אתה תעתק מדויק, אחר כך נבדוק את זה בלזון.
תגיד, האנשים האלה בצדדים, גם אתה רוצה שאני אעתיק?
איזו שאלה? תעתיק הכל.
מתן, מה איתך אנשים בבית הכנסת שלנו?
Mosaics were common in Palestine as early as the Hellenistic early Roman period. The biblical prohibition against graven images was strictly adhered to, and artists limited themselves to geometric designs, plants, and animals. Over the centuries, the prohibition relaxed somewhat. Mosaics from that later period clearly depict idolatrous scenes as well as more traditional Jewish symbols.
טוב, אני מבין שבחרתם בגלגל המזלות. יש לי פה כמה דוגמאות מתוך הדמויות שיהיו בתוך גלגל המזלות.
בעיניי זה מאוד מוצא חן. מה אתה אומר, אלעזר?
אני לא מתנגד, בתנאי שארון הקודש יהיה מעל גלגל המזלות.
אין בעיה. הנה כאן, הוסיף את ארון הקודש. פה מעל. שני שופרות. לולב, אתרוג, מחתה, ושני אריות, פה ופה. כאן, למעלה, נשאר לנו מקום. מה לעשות כאן?
אלה אריות? בקושי חתולים, תשתגע קצת.
מה דעתך על מנורה?
שתי מנורות אני אעשה. משני צידי הארון, אחת פה ואחת פה.
אבל זה לא דומה בכלל למה שראינו לפני. אז אולי אתה תצחק אבל?
רעיון טוב.
הנה יצחק. ואברהם. וכאן הכבשה. טוב, איזה רע.
תשלח ידך אל הנער, סופר.
In the 7th century, Beit Alpha was abandoned and the Jews were exiled. They believed the day would come when they would return. They ended up waiting 1,200 years. When history permitted the Jews to return, they began to lay the foundations for an independent community in their own land. When the land was plowed to build the first kibbutzim, the earth opened its mouth and told the pioneers the story of their past. When the kibbutz members uncovered a colorful mosaic fragment, they realized they had settled on the ruins of a Jewish village from Talmudic times. The synagogue was excavated in 1929 by Professor Alfa Synagogoe. It was the first excavation carried out by archaeologists from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. The Beit Alfa Synagogue was designed in the form of a basilica, a design common among synagogues and churches in the 5th and 6th century CE. The synagogue was covered by a gabled roof. The entrance to the square courtyard, which is now covered, was through a gate in the western wall. Parallel to the entrance wall of the synagogue was a row of 6 columns covered by a roof. 3 doors led into a large hall, which was divided by 2 rows of square pillars into a central nave and 2 aisles. At the center of the southern wall was a semicircular niche with double the ark. The room in the western wall of the synagogue may have served as a stairwell leading to a wooden balcony which surrounded the hall, and may have served as a women's section if there was such a thing during those times. The magnificence of the synagogue lies in the beauty of the mosaic which adorned its entire expanse. While the wide aisles were decorated with simple geometric patterns, the central nave was decorated with a colorful mosaic divided into 3 sections. The section adjacent to the entrance depicts the sacrifice of Isaac. On the left are Abraham's 2 servants. Further on is the ram whose horns are stuck in the tree. Above him is the inscription, "And behold the ram." Over the ram, a hand is seen protruding from the cloud next to the inscription, "Lay not." The figure of Abraham is larger than the rest of the figures. In his left hand he holds Isaac, and in his right is the slaughtering knife. Finally, the altar with the tongues of flame rising from it. The central section contains the wheel of the zodiac, a common depiction in Roman Byzantine mosaic art. Inside the inner circle is Helios, the Greek sun god, riding a quadriga with 4 horses against a backdrop of a starry sky and moon. Around the wheel are the 12 signs of the zodiac. Next to each is its Hebrew name. Some of the Hebrew words are misspelled or miscopied. At the 4 corners are women's figures, which symbolize the 4 seasons. They do not match the adjacent signs of the zodiac and were apparently copied from another mosaic depicting the seasons in another part of the world. The upper section, which is now lit, depicts the Holy Ark with 7 branched candelabra at its side and 2 roaring lions at its bottom. Around it are depictions of sacred objects from the temple. Marianus and his son Harina used stones of 22 different colors. The quality and precision of their workmanship are admirable. The mosaic itself is perhaps naive but charming in its simplicity. The artists had difficulty capturing perspective and were also unable to maintain the correct proportions of the human body. But this work reflects the spiritual world of the ancient inhabitants of Beit Alpha and symbolizes the status of Judaism toward the end of the Talmudic era.
נאיבי, פרספקטיבות, פרופורציות. אני חייב ללכת. קיבלנו עבודה בציפור.
To the west. Is Jerusalem the center of the Jewish existence? And so this is the mosaic of Beit Alpha. When they found it, remember the name of the guy, by the way, who did the excavations here in 27? Did you see it? Sukeinik. Where did we hear the name again before? This is the guy who brought the first batch of Dead Sea Scrolls back in 1947. And by the way, he's the father of Yigael Yadin, that you saw him in the museum in Masada. Yigael Yadin is the guy that did the excavations of Masada in the 60s. And this guy, in his biography, has other chapters, a part of his scientific work. At the age of 29, he was the chief of staff of the Israeli army during the 48 war. Can you imagine? There was an elderly guy that was in office, but he was sick throughout. At the age of 29, in this very, very tough war, he's the one who ran the Israeli army at the age of 29. Anyway, he did the works there. When they started to find these synagogues throughout the country, the most shocking, not less than that, shocking finding were the zodiacs. This is so Greek, Roman, and what we see here is Helios, the god of the sun, or the sun, right? He's bringing in the sun with his chariot. This is Greek, Roman, this in a synagogue, and the drawings or the paintings of the women down there. that was really strange, because today Judaism is very strict about images. Apparently back then they were much more relaxed about it. Here they did something else. They did the hand of God coming from the clouds. You see that?
Yeah.
When he interferes. And this is something that, portraying, putting the images of Abraham and is one thing maybe, but the hand of God, it's very hard to believe that the Jewish Orthodoxy today would have allowed such a scene in the synagogue. But still, it's here, it's fascinating. The most important part of the synagogue, no doubt, by the Holy Ark. The Holy Ark was in this small niche up there with the Torah scrolls and everything, and right next to it is some sort of artifacts from the temple. Most importantly are the two menorahs, the two lamp candlesticks that were in the temple in Jerusalem, and some sort of the rituals of the temple are still being remembered in the synagogue through the mosaic floor that is the nearest to the Holy Ark. Questions?